Good evening and welcome to the Rochester City School District's Board of Education School Public Hearing. This is for Virtus Charter School. The public hearing, and today is January 22nd, 2026. The Education Laws of Subdivision 2857-1 and regulations of the Commissioner of Education require the board to conduct a public hearing within 30 days of receipt of notice of an application for a new or revised charter school. The Board of Education of the Rochester City School District is conducting this public hearing regarding the revision for Virtus Middle School. The purpose of this hearing is to gather community input to provide the New York State Education Department. The Virtus Charter School requests to increase its grade span to add grades 7 through 8 to its current grade 9 through 12 configuration and to make a corresponding increase to its authorized enrollment from 380 students to 560 students by 2031 to 2032. A determination regarding this application has not yet been made and is currently under review by the New York State Education Department. This evening, we do have one speaker, and I will ask is this person speaking, or is it just submitted comments? Okay, I'm going to ask that Commissioner McCullough join us to share his comments. Clerk Wynn, should he address us from the podium or here on the dais?
If you could use the podium, sir.
Yes, sir, thank you. Commissioner McCullough, you will have 3 minutes. Commissioner McCullough, I would suggest you make it your way to the podium. I may have to call the next person if you're not ready.
Okay, can you hear me? All right, thank you for this time to make this personal statement about this particular charter expansion. So speaking as a community member and as an educator, I would like to put my opposition in to the Virtus Charter School expansion. This position is not anti-charter. It is more of a pro-system stewardship. The proposal commits RCSD to charter expansion through at least 2032 and beyond, which is beyond their current charter term. If we look at what is going on within charter schools, I used New Orleans as an example to illustrate how long-term trade-offs of portfolio-style districts do affect us and what we're trying to do. RCSD is working toward coherence and stability and shared student outcomes. If we are giving in to charters and allowing them to expand, they are going to begin taking away from what we are trying to do as a district. And I do believe that we are building a district and not a district to separate a system. So in order for that to happen, I do believe that we have to have some limits on how much charters can expand. And so my opposition is for that we do not see the expansion of Virtus Charter School at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McCullough, or Mr. McCullough in that regard. And if you, for the viewing audience, are interested in seeing any or hearing any additional comments, there is also a letter that has been submitted in regards to the comments you just heard. Without further speakers or comments at this time, this meeting is adjourned. Good evening. Welcome to the Rochester City School District Board of Education Business Meeting. Today is Thursday, January 22nd, and the time is 6:01. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order and open our meeting with act of reverence and a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I will ask that Vice President Malloy lead us in that allegiance. Thank you, Vice President Malloy. At this time, I'm going to turn the mic over to Clerk Nguyen, who will engage us with roll call.
Good evening, Commissioners, Administration, and Community. When you hear your name, please indicate present. Commissioner Simmons,
Present.
Commissioner Malloy,
Present.
Commissioner Feynman, Commissioner Griffin,
Present.
Commissioner LeBron, Commissioner McCullough,
Present.
Commissioner Santiago.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Nguyen, and I do understand we have upcoming events that you'll be sharing as well.
Yes, ma'am. So the board will open the month of February with a work session on February 10th, beginning at 6 p.m. The following day, Wednesday, February 11th, we will hold our Black History Month recognition at 5:30 p.m. The speaker forum will be held on Tuesday, February 17th, beginning at 5:30 p.m. And then the board will conclude the month with the business meeting on Thursday, February 26th. As a reminder, all of the reference meetings and all board meetings are held at 131 West Broad Street in the conference room 3A3B. The board does host a monthly speaker forum to gather feedback from students, parents, and community members on items and information to inform the board on discussions and decisions that they are making. This speaker forum convenes at 5:30 on the third Tuesday of every month unless otherwise noted. For those who wish to speak, you may contact the Board of Education at 262-8525 or Board of Education at rcsdk12.org. You must do so by noon on the day of the forum, and at the time of registering, you need to include your name, home address, affiliation to the district, and the topic on which you wish to speak. Further information related to speakers and the board meeting calendar can be found at rcsdk12.org/BOE calendar. Thank you, President Simmons.
Thank you, Clerk Nguyen. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for the acceptance of minutes, that being the amended minutes, as amended, for the December 9th work session, as well as approval for the December 18th business meeting and January 2nd organizational meeting. Motion by Vice President Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Griffin. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're moving into our advisory council reports, and I do see that we have a listing here for our bilingual education council. Let me just pause for one moment and see if those individuals are ready. That would be with President Pablo Sierra, who is here in person. We may need to return to that in a moment. So I'm going to give Mr. Sierra just some time before he comes in. I'll skip forward to some of the board reports. We have the finance report, but I think what we'll do with the finance report is do that later. As far as the president's verbal report, not much of a report. I do want to just acknowledge with my board colleagues, thank you for your confidence and placing me in a space to serve in the position of president again for the 2026 school year. I do hope to serve well and to take it up a notch with you all. I do see the opportunity for continued communication. And at this time, I am reestablishing some meetings with some of our fellow electeds and community happenings taking place. I'm also excited about some initiatives that I would like to see all of us engage in on some level. And we can talk further around what that would look like. I'd like to also take this opportunity to welcome officially our incoming commissioners, They're here. They're not incoming, they're here. And that would be Commissioners Feynman and McCullough to the first board business meeting. I know I acknowledged you at the work session, but the first official board business meeting. So we, again, look forward to that. With that said, let's see. I want to pause, and I'm going to call a brief recess because I do want to check on the status of our report before we move forward. So if I can entertain a motion for a brief recess.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Santiago, seconded by Commissioner Griffin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll be back in just one moment. Thank you to our viewing public for your patience. We're going to continue in the meeting. We're going to move to our finance report at this time. I will turn the mic over to Dr. Rosser.
Thank you very much, Board President. This evening, we will be providing our January financial report. I'm going to have Mr. McDowell step to the podium to deliver this report. Mr. McDowell.
Thank you, Superintendent Rosser. Okay, similar to our previous month's reports, we start with our cash flow in regards to our financial statements for the month. And here, the illustration shows that our cash flow increased from this time last year by about $24 million. Month to month, the increase is about $4 million. This is typical for us at this time of the year because in December, our state aid and our expenses are pretty much equivalent. So you don't see much of a change here as you saw last year. So at the end of December, we technically have about $301 million in the bank. When you move to the next slide, it'll show our revenues. Not much change here. We have a slight decrease in our expected general fund revenues of about $270,000, and that's offset by increases in grant monies of $191,000. Most of it is from admin specialist grant that we received this year. When you look at the initial budget compared to what we expect to receive in the overall funds, it's about an $8 million increase going from $1.117 million to $1.124 million in total revenues for this year as of December 31st. When we look at our appropriations by fund, the one thing that always alarms me or that catches my eye is the percentage of money available. We are at the end of December, we should be closer to 50% in spending, and we're at 65%. And this, again, goes back to our concerns that we have with the Oracle system. Our payroll is not hitting our general ledger, which means that it's not showing up in our encumbrances and or our expenditures. So when we rectify or remedy that situation, you'll see these numbers start to reflect what they should reflect for the time that we have left in the year. If you move on to the cash balance or general ledger summary, which is the next spreadsheet, again, this gives you a breakdown of what we have in the bank. And what I always focus on is the money that we have in line number 6, which is your NICLAS money market. That's where we receive most of our interest earnings for monies that we have in the district. Right now, of the $288 million reflected in our statements here, $243 million of it is in that one particular account, which accounts for about 83 to 85% of our total monies in the bank at this moment. I would always love to have that number higher, but we have to have money in our general checking to pay our weekly and monthly bills. The next slide shows our actual cash flow, and this is a unique spreadsheet here because the first 6 months are actual now, and the last 6 months are our projections. So if you look at December, that $301 million number should match what we have on page 1, and what we expect to have in June is slightly higher based on the state aid monies that we'll get in January and in March, and what we expect to spend for the rest of the year. So these will tie to our bank statements for the most part at the end of the year. My expectation is that we will have more cash in the bank at the end of this year than we did last year. This is just a graphical illustration of cash flow in comparison to last year. Then you start to get into our revenue summaries. And for the most part, our revenue really starts to hit once we get into the new year, which is now. So you'll see that reflected in the next presentation. Right now, we've received about $313 million of the $965 million that we expect to receive for the general fund at this time. When we look at your special aid and your grants, their money comes in a little later in the year for grants because some of them are reflective and are extended out past August. So we only have a fifth of that money so far, 20% of what we expect. And for your food service, we've received about a quarter of that, 26 million or about 7.4 million. When we start to look at your general fund expenditures, these are all of your accounts rolled up into the major sum categories. And again, your amounts available are somewhat higher than they normally would because if you look at some of our payroll lines, they're not showing the actual expenses that they should because the ledger's not rolling into the payroll expenses aren't rolling into the ledger. We will rectify that in the next couple months, so these numbers will adjust and the accounts will be properly showing what they should. The same for your special aid and for your food service accounts, so nothing alarming or nothing different than what you've seen in the past few months. Your general fund budget transfers, you have about 15 to 20 pages of those. I've reviewed those. For the most part, there are normal operations. Anything that seemed like an outlier, I reviewed to make sure that it was something that we normally do or that it had a contract associated to it. So nothing alarming in your general fund expenditure or budget transfers. And then your last page is your reconciliation of your charter schools. And I know we'll be talking a lot about charter schools later today. Our numbers for charter schools were slightly lower than expected, hence there's a variance there of about $5 million that we expected to spend that we haven't spent, but we're going to have to spend that in another way based on the new calculations for excess cost aid that the state has sent down. Again, we'll talk more about charter schools and a couple other presentations later today, but this is, if you just look at student count, this is where we look. This is what we have in comparison to last year for charter schools. Any questions?
Okay, I want to open up the dais for questions regarding the financial report that was submitted. Any questions at this particular time? I do have one, I think it was on page 2, but I'll start here. I know that you mentioned, were you able to provide when you anticipate the full year, the 25-26 payroll benefit costs to be fully posted? Because I know there are issues. Is there an idea of when that might happen?
We have a meeting Monday to really address that. My expectation is probably by March. We have up to or the middle of September posted as of to date. And now that most of our year-end, calendar year-end stuff is taken care of, this is the next most important thing to get after because without financial statements, we can't send anything to the state.
Right. And so with that, I know you have limited information and there's some barriers to that right now, but is there any projected surplus or deficit that you have been able to kind of look at concerning that?
Honestly, no, because without getting payroll posted, it doesn't give me any real information to base a guesstimation.
It just
on.
stops right there?
It does, unfortunately.
Yeah, okay. And then I did have another question, I think it was on page 2, regarding I see the influx of dollars, it looks like a youth program and an admin role. And just, that prompted me to just kind of think, are there any other or recurring positions that might be tied to special aid grants or things of that nature that are expected to expire around 26, 27, that we would then need to find space for?
Yeah, it's part of our budgeting process for the 26-27 school year. We're looking at those revenue streams, which would be grants, that might be expiring and what the implications of those grants expiring to student programming, as well as how it may impact staffing as well.
Okay. Thank you. Looking for hands. Commissioner Santiago?
Yeah, just a quick question. Which page do I find the fund balance on?
You won't, not in this report.
Not in this report. I'm just asking because usually they are in the reports, and so usually as far as the fund balance, we usually get an update as far as where our fund balance is currently at. So that might be good, something to put inside of the report.
Okay.
Fund balance. Yeah, because our fund balance is something that we usually pay attention to and have conversations about, and I'm not seeing it here in this document.
Okay. I will look at previous months. I know we didn't change it, but obviously if you feel that we had it before, we'll do what we have to do.
Thank you.
Right now, I can tell you the general fund balance is about 278 million.
Okay.
And our overall fund balance is about 320 million.
Thank you, Commissioner Santiago. Commissioner McCullough?
All right, so I just have a really quick question. So I was looking, is it normal for repeated mid-month reallocations of funds to happen? Because when I was looking, and I can give you a page on page 13, there's like, money comes out, money goes back in, money comes out, money goes back in. Is that normal to see when this is happening?
It's no different than your own checking account, paying your own bills.
Well, I mean,
So-
the actual numbers, like, it's not like I'm taking money out and spending it. It's more of this money has been put into this department, and then it's taken back out and put back into that same department. It's like it's like being reallocated, but in the same department. Like, is that normal, is what I basically wanted to know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm kind of not understanding your question.
So what,
Yeah, let me jump in real quick. So if you look at the top of page 13, and you see this a question around budget transfers, and you can see that within a particular department, there was $500 that was taken from one line, and it was reappropriated in the same department to a different line.
Right.
So that would be something that is common.
Okay.
Because let's say, for instance, the budget manager originally budgeted $1,000 for travel, thinking that they were going to use $1,000 for travel, but then learned that they weren't going to use that entire $1,000 for travel. They then have the ability to then take that $500 that they didn't use and move it into another line for them to then be able to use it in a different way.
okay, because like I said, I just noticed it's throughout the whole month happening like that. So I was curious if that's something that is happening across the board every month. Like, is there a cause for it? And thank you, Dr. Rosser, because he just explained that to me so that I can be more clear.
So, Mr. McDowell,
Yeah.
if you look at,
I see
that
it.
particular department, account 546 had $500 in it, and then, or was credited for $500, but that $500 was taken out of account 5451.
Right. So, Commissioner, the way transfers go is wherever you take it from, there's got to be a balance, and it's usually not going to get put back in the same account. It's going to get moved somewhere else because they have a purpose for it, and they probably didn't need as much in that other account.
Were there any other questions or on the finance report? With none, Dr. Rosser?
That concludes our finance report for this meeting. Thank you, Mr. McDowell.
Always.
Thank you. Okay, as we move through the agenda, I do want to return to our advisory council reports. And if Mr. Pablo Sierra, who is our Bilingual Education Council President, he is here to present a report, and I ask for him to join us at the podium at this time. Thank you, Mr. Sierra.
Thank you. Good evening. This has been a very difficult month for the Bilingual Education Council. It has come to our attention that significant changes are afoot in bilingual education and world languages. And we are perplexed, we are upset, we are confused. The BC has seen significant improvement in communication, transparency, and outreach to RCSD families since the fall, right, since the start of the school year. And now we hear that changes are afoot. We are in the middle of Regents examinations. We're in the middle of the school selection process. And the parents of this district are now left in a state of confusion. We want parent engagement, but we're closing the channels to parent engagement. What are we to do in this situation? When we find inequities in testing, placement, and curricula, who do we contact? We urge the Board of Education to look deeply into these changes. We ask for dialogue. We ask for de-escalation. We ask for actual communication with the constituents of this school district: parents, students, and teachers. We urge the Board of Education to review the BEC bylaws. We're looking forward to an honest, difficult conversation on how to make the pathway to bilingual education stronger, better. We are in a very difficult political moment, and this is a district that stands up for world languages. I think we can do better. I know we can do better. I should also say that the Bilingual Education Council held its monthly meeting at School 17 on Wednesday, January 14th, and it was a real community event. We discussed the school selection process for 26-27, and the staff of the Office of Parent Engagement was there to help parents register their children at the event. We are grateful for OPE's support. We are grateful to Caterina Leon Manino for presenting information about an RFP for international schools programs. We are grateful to Henry Padron, who led our families in a traditional Puerto Rican bomba drumming circle. Those were moments of community making and engagement. We are grateful to Ibero for co-sponsoring the event with gift cards for attending families, and we are grateful to Julio Nieves and Arturo Cortés for participating with us. The BEC is very grateful to the staff who made this meeting possible in spite of significant restructuring. We have a lot of work to do. And our next BEC meeting will take place virtually on Wednesday, February 11th at 5:30 p.m. Este ha sido un mes muy difícil para el Concilio de Educación Bilingüe. Nos hemos enterado que vienen cambios fuertes a la educación bilingüe y al estudio de las lenguas mundiales, y estamos confundidos, molestos, perplejos. Estamos confundidos porque desde septiembre del 2025 el Concilio ha observado mejoras considerables en comunicación, transparencia y compromiso con las familias del RCST. Y ahora, en este momento crítico para el distrito y su población de lenguas mundiales y bilingües, vienen estos cambios. Estamos a la mitad de los exámenes de Regents y del proceso de selección de escuelas. ¿Qué hacemos en esta situación? Cuando descubramos procesos desiguales en los exámenes, asignación de escuelas y currículo, ¿a quién podemos recurrir? Instamos a la Junta de Educación que tome cartas en este asunto, que estudie las leyes, los bylaws que tenemos firmadas con el Concilio y el Distrito Escolar. Yo creo que es posible tener mucha mejor comunicación y un diálogo transparente con nuestras familias, maestras y estudiantes. Y concluyo simplemente diciendo que el 14 de enero tuvimos un evento muy lindo en la Escuela 17, un evento de comunidad con el Office of Parent Engagement, con Henry Padrón, con familias comprometidas, con padres y madres comprometidos. Y estamos agradecidos con esos trabajadores que nos permitieron hacer eso. Podemos llegar a un lugar mucho, mucho mejor de donde estamos, pero requiere diálogo, requiere compromiso, requiere transparencia. Nuestra próxima reunión será el miércoles 11 de febrero a las 5:30 p.m. Será un evento virtual. Muchas gracias y buenas noches.
Thank you. Muchas gracias, Senor Sierra. At this time, the board may convene into executive session to discuss infrastructure matters that may impact public safety and pending or current litigation with general counsel. I'd like to entertain a motion to enter into executive session.
So moved.
Moved by Vice President Malloy. Seconded by Commissioner McCullough. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We are now concluding into executive session at this time. Thank you for your patience. This is the Rochester City School District returning for our Board of Education business meeting. The time is now 7:44. And what I'd like to do is, we did have our financial report presented. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the finance report as conveyed this evening.
So moved.
Moved by Vice President Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Feynman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I will turn the mic over to Superintendent Rosser for our superintendent's presentation.
So thank you very much. Tonight's presentation is going to touch upon two areas. It's going to provide an update on what the governor has proposed as a part of her school aid for the school year 26-27. And then the second part of the conversation is also going to speak to requesting that the board consider modifying its legislative priorities to reflect something that we have realized as a gap in the governor's run. So as we all know, the governor had the responsibility on the 20th to release her budget. We also received our school aid runs at that point in time. For her proposed budget, it provides $39.3 billion in total school aid for the school year 2027. This investment represents a $1.6 billion year-to-year increase, which is approximately 4.3%, including increases of $779 million in foundation aid, $561 million in universal pre-K aid, and $287 million increase in all other school aid. Within the governor's budget, there are not additional funding for Rochester Health Services Grant and funding for Rochester's state monitor. The universal pre-K dollars, as I mentioned, is an increase of 52.5% across the entire state. Special services aid is maintained at $4,100 per pupil for 9th through 12th grade. School health services, $13.8 million in funding is continued for the Big Four city school districts. Charter schools, the executive budget provides a total of $195 million for charter school supplemental tuition and $177 million for charter school facilities aid. The Rochester City School District will be the recipient of a 3-year grant of approximately $750,000 to support improvement of literacy instruction through partnerships between the district and institutions of higher education to provide training for teachers aligned with evidence-based reading instruction. In the budget, there's high-impact tutoring, which provides $9 million to support individualized literacy and math tutoring of students in high-need school districts. There's teacher pipeline support of $2 million. There is a college and high school opportunity fund, and for the 26-27 school year, roughly $49 million is provided for the college and high school opportunity fund, including $37.52 million for Smart Scholars, Smart Transfers, and Pathways in Technology, early college high school programs, and $9.1 million to provide ongoing per credit funding for college and high school programs. Universal free school meals, the executive budget provides $395 million to reimburse the cost of school meals served. Transportation aid has an increase of $156 million across the state. Homeless education, $37.2 million is provided for the 26-27 school year. McKinsey-Vento Homeless Assistance Act, $10.5 million is provided for the 26-27 school year. Instructional material aids remain at the statutory limits. primary mental health project, a total of $894,000 is continued in 26-27 for state support of school-based programs for early detection and prevention of school adjustment and learning problems experienced by children in primary grades. And extended school day, school violence prevention, a total of $24 million is to be awarded through a competitive process to local school-based intervention programs, including the establishment of before and after-school programs. So I provide this high-level overview of what is contained in the governor's budget. I encourage all who are watching us this evening to most certainly dig a little bit deeper into the budget. There's a lot more that I did not cover. Some of it pertains to Rochester, some of it doesn't. But when we look at the allocations that are provided to the Rochester City School District, we see that for foundation aid, there's roughly $11.6 million, or $11.7 million, which is an increase of only 1.92%. Universal pre-K, we see that there is an additional $8 million, $8.3 million that are going to be provided to the Rochester City School District, which is a percentage change of 24.75% of what we currently receive. And then the other aid, which would be transportation, high access costs, there's only an increase of $413,000, which is less than a quarter of a percentage increase, for a total aid package as articulated through the governor's run of roughly $20 million additional dollars to the Rochester City School District, which is only a 2.45% increase of what we received last year. We are in the process now of putting together our legislative testimony, which I will be providing next Thursday in Albany. We have consulted and will continue to consult with Big Five leadership about our legislative priorities, along with working very closely with our local delegation. What I'm going to have Mr. McDowell do is to speak a little bit more to what the governor's runs, what impact it has on our budget revenue projections, as well as our expenditures projections, and then our overall funding projections. At the close of Mr. McDowell's overview, I'm going to have Chief Lopez come and speak about our legislative priorities and what we would like to amend to include in our legislative priorities based upon the information we have received in the past few days. So, Mr. McDowell.
Thank you, Superintendent. So last week we were here on the 13th and we gave an overview of our projected revenue. We were expecting somewhere in the range of $983.6 million. With the new and updated information from the governor, we are now forecasting a slightly lower number, representing about a 1.5% total increase of $980.1 million. As the superintendent just briefly talked about, in the state aid realm, we received an additional $12 million, or we're estimated to receive an additional $12 million. On top of that, the runs are showing an additional $7 million for transportation aid. But as we will talk about in this conversation and in some other conversations as we continue to talk about the budget, we are losing, slated to lose about $5 million in transitional charter aid. With that offset, the total increase is projected to be about $14.3 million instead of about 17 that we were projecting about a week or so ago. You can go to the next slide. Our expenses at this time, we have not adjusted them We are expecting that they will increase by about $64 million. And just to give you an idea, especially for the new commissioners, the four big-ticket items for that $64 million are the increase in charter school costs, our increases in health insurance, our right-sizing of our transportation budget, and then some of the other operational costs that we have to consider, such as the 3 new contracts that we have to renegotiate, and then just raises for all of our staff in general. So our expected increases for our expenditures will be about 6.6% of our budget, or representing $64 million. And then when you compare that to the next slide, we give you an overall review of the general fund and then what we've learned with our grants. When you look at our revenue numbers of $980 million compared to the expenditures of $1,030 million, we have a gap of approximately of $46 million. Conversely, we did hear some good news that our federal grants we don't expect that they will be impacted this year. So we readjusted our grant totals to be reflective of what we expect to get this year, because we don't expect there to be any impact as we were expecting a week ago. So that $7 million that we were expecting to lose, we're not reflecting that any longer. So the overall gap we're expecting or estimating right now is about $49.8 million, or a 5.1% increase in overall funds for these two particular
And there's many things that myself and members of, all members of Executive Cabinet have been engaged in to identify ways in which we can reduce our expenditures, think out the box when it comes to how do we provide a high-quality educational experience to our students, making sure, of course, professional learning is in place for staff members, making sure that we're also supporting parents. So as I mentioned at our last meeting, that presentation is being prepped for February 26th, in which we will be able to present to our commissioners and to our board a very strong framework for our budget and closing the $50 million gap that currently exists.
So the next steps in the budget process, obviously the 20th has passed, and we have just updated you on the budget, governor's budget, and some of the things that are included in that. As the superintendent just stated, on February 26th, we'll be back with another presentation to show what how we're going to balance the budget. And then in March, we have the submission to the monitor, and then the presentation to the state monitor on the 1st and 26th. After that, we have some upcoming events, and some of the dates will be shared later today. You have your public hearings with the city council, and then we have deliberations and other meetings to adopt the budget, and then we have the council vote that should happen in June.
Thank you, Mr. McDowell. Any questions, commissioners, related to this portion of the presentation?
I do. So I have a question. Okay, here we go. So I have a really quick question. So where do you see the district's least flexibility when you, in terms of revenue as they start to come up? Where's the least flexibility so we can have an idea of what we're not going to be able to do?
So when you say least
The least flexibility in the revenues that are coming in, like what can you not move? Where do you see it not being able to go with this? What's happening with the budget? I know this is a draft, so
Right.
where could you be projecting that at?
So the revenues, can you talk a little bit about the revenues? But
absolutely.
I'm wondering whether or not the question speaks to more expenditures.
No, I
Like-
understand
Both,
where he's
a
going.
little bit of both. It's
Okay.
actually, you're right. It is a little bit of both, but I wanted to focus on the revenue part just
Okay.
to see if there's flexibility and where is it?
Okay.
All right, so great question, Commissioner. The portion of the revenue that I don't think is going to be very flexible If you can go to the previous slide right there, unfortunately, it's going to be the monies that we receive from the city of Rochester. The 119.1 million hasn't changed in 20 years. So I don't expect that is something that's negotiable at this point. The local share, you have interest in there. The state, we're going to get another state budget from the legislative body in April. And then our federal dollars could change. So I think, matter of fact, I know you're going to have change in the bottom, in the lower, in the three below the city of Rochester. But the 119 million, I don't think is going to change at all.
It also legally can't change. It's legally required that the city provides this 119 million
Yeah,
But it could go up.
at bare minimum.
minimum.
It could go up, though.
And as it relates to expenditures, one of the areas of least flexibility would be, of course, employee salaries and benefits.
Yeah.
Is that it, Commissioner McCullough? Okay, any other questions regarding the superintendent's presentation?
This portion of it.
This portion of it, yes.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. So the next portion, given the fact that we just received information, of course, about our charter schools and how charter schools are funded, myself and Chief Lopez were engaging in conversations, of course, around our legislative priorities and my legislative testimony, and came to the conclusion that we would like to present to the board an amendment to our legislative priorities to include charter school funding, given the fact that, we stand to lose about $11 million for this upcoming year, and we pay more than $155 million in charter school tuition and associated costs for the 25-26 school year. So, Chief Lopez, do you want to share with the board a little bit more of our thinking?
Thank you, Superintendent. Good evening, Commissioners. As we've been diligent in working on our legislative priorities and we're able to reduce some of them, the last time we presented our priorities, the decision was to remove charter school advocacy. At that time, the advocacy was for a moratorium on charter schools and the change in the state in allowing only the New York State Department of Education to be the authorizer for charters. One of the things that we realized as the governor released her budget was there were some formula changes that significantly impact the district. And so therefore, as part of your presentation and in your documents, you will find an amended legislative priority that reflects a new addition that focuses on these dollars. And so when we look at the proposed amendment, it talks about the loss to the Rochester City School District and understanding that 30% of our students are now, students that would come to the Rochester City School District are charter school students, and then the amount that is being paid at the per pupil allocation. So my request is that the board approve the addition of this priority to our legislative priorities. We will make sure to update all of our documentation and anything that we share. And once everything is completed, I will make sure to send you a copy. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much. In our conversation with Jennifer Powell earlier today around, Rochester's position in what is anticipated to be allocated through the governor's budget, we did bring up charter schools, and she strongly recommended that if we had the ability to make a amendment to our legislative priorities so that when I travel to Albany next Thursday or Wednesday to give testimony on Thursday, that this be a part of my testimony.
thank you for that additional information. I'll just, yes, I support that 100%. I have a question, and I don't know if you'll have the answer for it right now, but I know $155 million in tuition for charter schools alone. That always kills me when I hear different scenarios, like folks wanting to actually take advantage of district sometimes I hear charters wanting to take advantage of district supports and things that we have going on when we're already paying $150 million in the tuition.
And
Is that,
associated costs.
is that, transportation is separate and apart from that. Isn't that like another $150 million or
No, it's
how
only,
much is the transportation for charters? About 10 million, okay. So, but still a lot of dollars, okay. So I do support that, but I want to open the dais for commissioners' appetite.
I am not against that. And I'll let the conversation go through first because I do have a recommendation that is about the legislative agenda, but off topic for this specific piece. Thank you.
Okay. So with any other comments, questions on this part of the presentation? Is there an appetite to respect that? I gave my opinion, Santiago.
I would
Malloy?
support
Okay.
it as well.
Anyone else?
I have to mimic some of the things that have been said. Charter schools are taking so much money from our district and then asking to be involved in our district events. So we're asking to double dip in a way. And I think that there needs to be a delineation and an understanding. And fiscally, restoring fiscal stability is very, very important. And it is our job as a board, so I understand and I'm supportive of this.
Yeah. So it sounds like you can prepare your remarks, sir, definitely. And Commissioner Santiago, did you say you had supplemental, or you wanted to wait?
Yes, I wanted to add a recommendation for the legislative agenda. And I know that there was hard work to condense it, but we're already at 1.5 pages, so you might as well finish the page out. I want to put my support and ask that we put our support behind legislation that is currently and will be on the floor called Solutions, Not Suspensions. I believe it might have been on our agenda before, unless I'm incorrect. But I know that recently that legislation in the state legislature has went through some modifications, so also pushed the state to pay to send funding to support our students in better ways than just suspensions. And I think that it's important that the districts around the state stand behind this legislation. So I would like to push, and if our board members are in agreement, for solutions, not suspensions, to be something that's added to our legislative agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Santiago.
And I'd like to second that. I think that we really need to look at solutions, not suspensions. It's something that we've been working on for a while.
Is that CCA? And we've had ongoing supports for that. Would that fall under, or could that be explicitly spelled out in the social emotional piece? Because I do believe the egregious suspensions, forgive me, I'm not speaking well this evening, but I do believe that impacts the social emotional health of students and their ability. So is that something that we could place in there, that we're looking at suspensions because we, yes.
yeah, we can take a look at it. Just want to make sure what we'll do, Chief Lopez will meet in the morning to discuss how we might be able to include that within the body of this document.
One of the things that we can do is look at the language that we had from the prior legislative priorities, and perhaps do something similar to the expand special services aid for portrait of a graduate implementation, where we have 2 sub-areas under that one topic.
Right.
Because specifically to the social emotional, we are advocating for the $1.2 million that was not included in the governor's budget. So we
Right.
can make them 2 separate. But we can
Gotcha.
work in the morning, and then I'll work with Clerk Wynn to get that information on.
Okay,
Yeah,
that
that'll be
makes
great.
sense.
And
President
really
Simmons.
quickly, I'll also send over the information to Clerk Wynn about solutions, not suspensions, and where it currently is as proposed. Thank you.
Clerk Wynn?
Yes, just a comment on timing in regards to making updates to the legislative priorities. The legislative luncheon is scheduled for February 13th. The next time you all will meet to approve an updated agenda would be February 10th, which may put some real constraints on the ability to be prepared with the materials for the legislative luncheon. And so I don't know if you all might want to consider some language right now that you could agree to so that the administration will be able to move forward with that.
Yes.
I just want to point out that we're having the legislative breakfast the same time as caucus weekend in Albany. Not the best, because all of us will be majority there. So I don't even know who's going to come to our legislative breakfast here, but I do ask that we stop doing that. We did the same thing last year. And I think, in fact, we changed it, and then I don't even think we ended up doing it at all, because it's the same weekend as the Black, and Asian, and Latino caucus. So, yeah, and folks are leaving on Friday, so.
Commissioner LeBron, in consideration of that, we moved it to be a luncheon during the week.
Oh, perfect. I didn't see that yet. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, we had a whole different day, I think, trying to avoid the weekend altogether. However, Monroe County School Boards Association is going to be having theirs on the same time with shared elected officials. So there was some, we met in the middle there, but yes, trying to accommodate as many schedules as possible. With that, are there any other pieces? Clerk Nguyen, your suggestion was to take a look at the language that is purported here, and suggestions for what particular area?
So as it relates to the solution, not suspensions, you don't have any language in front of you right now. You do have language for the charter school. It would just be my recommendation to get as close to approval of whatever the final agenda is going to look like, because again, you won't have enough time in order to print materials for your luncheon if you wait until February 10th to decide.
Gotcha. And the area in which you suggested the language for the solutions, not suspensions, what area did you suggest we try to massage it into?
Well, I recommend, as Commissioner Santiago indicated, that we include it as a subsection of the social-emotional area, because there is a bill, and so the legislative priorities would reflect supporting the bill. If the board is amenable to that, you can approve us adding, including support for the bill. We'll work on the language, and we can distribute that with prior approval from you.
So Commissioner Santiago, you're okay with my suggestion of putting it under the social emotional? And then, okay, what's your
Yeah,
language?
absolutely. I think that would be good to, for approval now. We had the conversation, and we have language from prior years, and so I think that we're all good to approve now, with the exception that that will be added soon.
Did you have a sentence, any verbiage that you want to suggest in this moment?
The ones from last year. I can also send over any new developments
We'll
of the
modify it.
legislation, and we could talk one-on-one. But
Yeah, if you can send that to me. All right, thank you.
Okay.
And I
well-
trust, because I'm not familiar with the language from last year, so I trust that when we meet tomorrow, we'll be able to.
Okay, modified, and I'm glad we're going to fit it in. We're in a bucket that we already have existing, so thank you for accepting that. With no further discussion on this matter, we're not necessarily voting on this then, because we need to modify it. But we could, I guess, vote on it with the understanding there will be modifications. So entertaining a motion to accept the amendment to the legislative priorities with the understanding there will be an additional modification, but we'll accept them as they are now, currently. So moved. Moved by Vice President Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Griffin. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have budget calendar. We have an update on the budget calendar. There have been some, as per usual, some dates that we've got to continue to look around. Schedules are always moving and what have you. So I'm going to turn this over to Clerk Nguyen to just provide the board with a brief update around some of those changes.
Yes. Thank you, President Simmons. So per our normal, we developed the budget calendar in early October. However, the city is not prepared to provide us with budget dates for the 2 hearings that we hold with them, as well as their budget vote. We have received that information. Because of their availability, it did, to accommodate that, it did require significant changes to our budget calendar, which if you look on board docs, for the months of April, May, and June are all highlighted. That is where the changes occurred. We will still have the 2 budget deliberations. You still have 3 rounds of potential questions and answers, but those dates were adjusted, mostly still on Tuesdays where they had historically been for your deliberations. But this calendar is inclusive of all city dates. And just a quick highlight is that you would have your first deliberation session on April 14th, followed by city council's hearing on the 15th. You would have your second deliberation on April 28th, and then you would have your budget vote on May 5th. You would join the city for a joint public hearing on June 11th, and then the city would vote on your budget on June 16th.
Okay, with that, are there any questions regarding the information presented this evening? Entertaining a motion to accept or adopt the amended budget calendar. So moved. By Vice President Malloy,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Santiago. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Entertaining a motion to accept our consent agenda items at this time, all resolutions under the consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Vice President Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Griffin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda items carry. We're looking at the academic resolutions, and that would be entertaining a motion for, Resolution 377.
So moved.
Moved by Vice President Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Griffin. Open for discussion. Being no discussion, all in favor of Resolution 377?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. There are no administrative support resolutions. Moving into human capital resolutions, and entertaining a motion to approve Resolutions 385 through 402.
So moved.
Moved by Vice President Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Griffin. Open for discussion. I typically wouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it because it's my baby, Resolution 400. I just want to thank my son, Cameron Simmons. I know what your experience has been, was as a student, and I know what your experience was as an employee with this district, and I want to thank you for sharing sharing experiences as a TA in the city school district. We have a lot of work to do, and I just want to thank you for your service. With that said, all in favor of Resolutions 385 through 402?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Moving to the Board of Education legal audit resolutions, motion to approve Resolutions 383 through 384.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Griffin, seconded by Vice President Malloy. Open for discussion. With none, all in favor of Resolutions 383 through 384?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, there's a resolution, so entertaining a motion to approve Resolution 403.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Griffin. All in, any discussion on Resolution 403? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We have a listing of written reports that are available via board docs. Questions can be submitted via the question log, and those would include instructional strategies, overview, staffing and recruitment report, our Medicaid compliance report, quarter 2, and monthly attendance report. Moving forward into unfinished business, I'm going to turn the mic over to Superintendent Rosser to discuss our preliminary goals and guardrails discussion here.
I'm going to actually request that we pull this and save it for a conversation at our February 10th meeting.
Okay. Would we need to vote on that? Okay, so entertaining a motion. Do we have to vote on that? No? Okay.
It's not a resolution, it's an agenda item to discuss your goals and guardrails.
Okay, thank you. So Oracle.
So as we've done each month, we are providing an update on our Oracle implementation. I'm going to have Mr. McDowell take the podium to lead us in providing the board and our community with an update on Oracle and our payroll situation.
Thank you, Superintendent Rosser. I think this is my 5th presentation in regards to Oracle and payroll and the progress that we've made since it was implemented in July. So we wanted to give you like a historical, especially for some of our newer board members. When we really started to track what tickets and issues we had with payroll, we started to to identify and to like quantify what type of issues we had and when we had them, what type of pay issues people had. And we started this in October. And at that time, we had about 1,800 tickets that we were really looking into, and they were all types: missing pay, missing additional pay, some parts of the paycheck were incorrect, and then some other issues. As we deployed more employees and hired more outside help, these numbers begin to change because we actually begin to solve some of the issues. So when we look at the next slide, in December, which was the last presentation we had, you can see that number decreased from 1,797 down to 593. Now, that's a great decrease of over 1,200 tickets being solved, but that's also all of the new tickets that we received during that 2-month period also. But still having 593 issues is 593 too many. So when we look at where we stand today, that number is at 439. Now, the good thing about this is this actually includes some of the payroll concerns we have for tomorrow. So as we get these, we are really doing everything we can to resolve them, to solve them, and to understand what it's doing to our system. The other commissioners know that unfortunately for us, as we get an issue, sometimes it changes situations or parameters that we've already set up in the system. So this is a very unique challenge, something that we're going to continue to push forward through until we get this number down to 0. But a lot of work is being done behind the scenes. And more importantly, I still don't believe it's sustainable because we have about 25 to 30 people doing this, and we only have 11 people in payroll. So we still have a lot of hands on deck to get these numbers lower. But most important is that we continue pushing forward until we get all of these resolved. So some other updates that we have, because I want to make sure we're transparent as we can possibly be. We still have some issues with TRS. And what do I mean by that is, if you have a teaching degree or if you started out as a teacher, you're part of the TRS system. And we still have not been able to successfully submit a report to TRS for July. We've sent it down 3 times in the last 2 weeks, and we thought we had everything resolved, and it has not been resolved. And we are doing everything we can. We know once we get the first one down, they'll take it because then we'll replicate the process. But it's been a Herculean effort to try to get this taken care of, and it's just taking too long. But we're doing everything we can to make sure we get that done. And with that being the case, there's a reason why we're exploring other platforms. It's not just because of TRS, but just all of the complications that we've encountered with this system. Again, in finance, we have 7 departments. I've spent 90% of my time taking care of payroll, and we have a budget that we need to get after. So it would be nice to have payroll perform the way it should. So we're exploring other options because we want normalcy, and and our taxpayers and our workers deserve that. We encountered an issue this week. Unfortunately, W-2s were released in this past weekend, and in releasing them, ADP did not send us a sample copies for us to review. With that occurring, there were items on the W-2 that weren't filled out. Now, if you know a W-2, the first 5 items are your net income and then your gross income after certain deductions. The items that weren't filled out were items 12 through 14, and those are mostly your medical deductions, and your box 13 is, do you have any retirement deductions? And then what do you do for your 403B, 403(1) contributions and all of that? Now, if you're someone who doesn't itemize your taxes, then your W-2 is going to be correct for the most part. For someone who does itemize your taxes, those boxes you need filled out because they're going your Schedule B, and I'm getting too technical with this, but those boxes we need to have filled out. Now, you could look at your 1226 pay stub, but you shouldn't have to. This should not be that tough. So we are still working with them. My goal is to have this rectified as quickly as tomorrow so that we can meet the 131 deadline. So everyone has their W-2 so that they can file taxes anytime after after the 31st. But for the most part, we have here in the specified for the ERS, TRS deduction, only on 7/11, the people who worked and were paid during that time frame, those are the people whose box number 1, their adjusted or net income is off by that particular amount of money. So I think the highest deduction for ERS, TRS was $374 for that person. So what does that mean? That means that their net income is overstated by that $374. So we may say, hey, that's a small amount. No, it should be correct. So we have to correct that, and we will. And again, tomorrow I'm expecting to see an updated W-2 so I can review it and make sure everything is properly completed and filled in so that we can then send it out to our 6,000 employees so that they can do what they need to do to take care of their finances. Again, I expect to have that done next week so that we can mail that out, or I expect that they'll be mailed out next week so everyone has them by next Friday or so. Any questions?
With no questions,
You get them.
Commissioner Griffin?
Sorry. I just wanted to, just for a minute, and I apologize, it has nothing to do with you, but when we did to the President Simmons for the agenda, I want to make sure for the record that if there is a change in the agenda, then we should be doing, like you said, President Simmons. I just want the council to chime in on what happened with the agenda when we tried to do it, so there's clarity for the listening public, for the record. So go ahead.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
As far as the change in the agenda, when we were trying to do the motion, so I just wanted him to clarify it for the listening public to ensure that we're in compliance and we're not doing something that we're not supposed to.
Are you talking about the, the budget agenda?
When we were making the change in the agenda, and Dr. Rosser wanted to remove something from, under, before Oracle, I was just speaking to.
Oh,
Yeah, I just wanted to make.
I appreciate your concern. I think it was explicitly clear that that we're just changing he's not going to be presenting on the item. We're going to push it to the work
Right,
session.
but it was a change in the agenda, and when there's a change in the agenda, the question was, should we be motioning? So I want him to clarify it about what we're actually supposed to do.
Yeah, I think I proposed that question, and then the question was answered. He did answer. I got the clarity that I needed, which was that we didn't need to make the motion because I was caught up in them being resolutions, but I do appreciate your concern.
That's not what he just discussed.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make sure, that's why I asked, that's why I'm saying.
General Counsel, the changing of the guardrails conversation was not a resolution. We had just gotten done with resolutions. There was no reason to vote on that, or am I misinterpreting something?
So very briefly, President Simmons, thank you for the question. So the question that Commissioner Griffin is asking about changing of the agenda. So sometimes the board does vote on the the agenda at the beginning of the meeting and that the agenda is locked, and in those instances, I would recommend a formal vote to change the agenda. At that point, I don't believe that happened in this instance, so I think the informal modification was okay. But there might be an instance where the board does want to take more formal action per like Robert's rules and put forward a resolution. And as I discussed with the commissioner, the president could say something as simple as if there's no objection, right, for something as simple as that. So in this instance, I think you were fine with removing the item.
There
the
was
way you
no
did.
objection.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarity, and thank you for your question, Commissioner Griffin. Back to the matter at hand being the Oracle Fusion presentation that is on the table right now. Is there a conversation there, Commissioner Santiago?
Yes. If you don't mind reminding me, how many contracts and consultants do we have currently working on this project?
We have about 4. We still have Cherry Road here. We still have Nova Modus. We're not paying Oracle anymore, but they're still helping. I'm trying to think if there's another. No, so I'm sorry, we have 3.
Okay, so 3 currently. And how are they helping specifically with the issue with the W-2s?
That is mostly being done by Nova Modus.
Okay.
They're looking into one. Again, it's a configuration issue. When we were asking the system to pull data, we didn't configure it where it would pull data to feed to certain lines. So unfortunately, they have to now go back and rewrite it so that it does. Yeah. And if it was easy, it would have been done in 2 seconds. Unfortunately, nothing's easy with changing the system to perform the way we would like it to perform.
And do you know, kind of since we've been in these contracts, and this is kind of just fiscal questions because we are paying contractors to help us out with this, but are we seeing changes as far as the response time to our employees for their tickets and their troubleshooting tickets that they're putting in, and how quickly are the changes as far as the response that our staff are getting to these discrepancies?
Responses are much better because we actually have a system where we have 2 people who, when they hit payroll or they hit a certain aspect of the questionnaire or call-in or however they do it, people are getting responses immediately. So if you put something in today, you're getting something that says, hey, we got your information and we're looking into it. The most important part is not to just acknowledge. The real question is to resolve it. Right. And not only just resolve it for that one person, but resolve it universally. So we're really concentrating on finding root causes to help us universally take care of things. When you see that we have the 439, I think it was up there, as you know, the superintendent and I were talking about this earlier today, as that number starts getting lower, that means that we're getting more intricate into certain issues. So, and those are the ones that are going to take some more time, but at the end of the day, we have to get after it. We have more resources to solve them. Now we just have to solve them.
And how long, and this is close to my final question, how long do we have those contracts with our helpers and our consultants?
So Nova Modus is here till the end of June. We extended them. They had 2 contracts, one to December 31st and then to the end of June. So we definitely need them here. Cherry Road, we have them till March 31st. So I think that's 2 or 3 individuals. So I'll confirm that for you later. And then we have our team, and our team is, you know, IT, it's a few people in HR, and then it's everyone in payroll, and even 3 or 4 people in finance, and we're still in meetings till 7 o'clock every night.
Yeah, and that sounds very problematic for sure. And of course, we all know this is common knowledge, but once those contracts are over, I mean, where are we going to be? You know, as far as the Oracle system and how if our staff are prepared, seeing that we're having new issues every day. And I know, and my hopes is that we can change this system and this payroll system as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's why we're exploring other payroll platforms. As I shared in the past, we are engaged in a feasibility study to determine if a particular platform will be better suited for the district. And if so, we will then go through the proper procurement process to then secure that platform.
Will that be done before June? Seeing that the contracts for both of our contractors will be done, and
That's
it
our
will only
plan.
be on our district staff.
That's our plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Santiago. Commissioner Feynman?
I also want to point out that ADT put this out without double checking. I mean, they didn't go in and say, oh, look, we printed one, we have a mistake. Let's do all 6,000. I mean, maybe we should have had, they knew it was new system. I think that we need to put some of the pressure on them also for not double checking in these things.
Yeah, we've had those conversations with them because, to your point, there should have been a process by which, just to confirm that even things are lining up properly on the W-2s, would have at least brought it to our attention so that we could have then, made some decisions and told them not to send them out. I will say, what has been shared with me is that the W-2s being released are being received by many on Friday and Saturday of last week is the earliest that has happened in the district. And what's most important is that we do make sure that they are fixed so that we can then meet that federal deadline of January 31st, when federally all organizations who employ employees in the states, in the United States, have an obligation of providing that W-2. Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Griffin?
Thank you. I just want to again applaud everyone in the staff that has helped resolve a lot of these Oracle issues, and to Mr. McDowell and his team that have worked tirelessly and long hours trying to make sure that our staff and all of us have gotten our payrolls corrected. I know one is too many when there's a problem, but I just also want to extend a thank you and appreciation for everything that they have been doing and taking away from their families and spending time to make sure that our staff is getting correct payroll checks and their as well as their taxes. So thank you so much, Mr. McDowell and your team.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Griffin. With no further discussion regarding Oracle at this time, we're going to move into the second readings. And these are for for policy 5405, 6150, 6240, 6500, and 6700. At this time, this is open for discussion. Just so you know, if there are no concerns or anything that if we're okay with these will be moved forward, given our vote for the next business meeting for a final vote. So anything concerning these policies, with no discussion at this time, I'm going to entertain a motion to move policies 5405 through 6700 forward to the next board business meeting. Motion by Commissioner LeBron, seconded by Vice President Malloy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Looking at new business, these are first readings. These are for the educational philosophy. So we're looking at policies 0000, 0101, 0105, 105-E1, and 4350. And these, again, are policies for our first reading. I do want to bring attention to policy 0105. This is the Equity and Educational of Excellence Policy. And I believe there is specific language in this policy that we want to take a look at. Clerk went, 0105, 0105.
President Simmons.
Let me see, I think I went into the clean version, yes.
Yeah, so what you all had discussed prior related to this policy is regarding its deliverables, and if you wanted to modify it or go a different course, and I believe it was related to the fact that there's no existing or approved equity plan. So that was the conversation that you all left to move to the business meeting.
Was there anything that we would looking to modify at this time?
Oh, there we go. I believe we were discussing about how instead of making the deliverables something more integrated within the whole process of instruction, how the equity is built into the instruction, instead of relying on the superintendent and his team to give us a whole new report every year. If we put it in instruction, we can see it more student-centered that way. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we were discussing that this was just pretty much a waste of their time.
Okay, was there any language that are we looking to eliminate the policy, or are we looking to modify language within this policy? Eliminate.
If it's not something we need, I'm sorry, Isaiah, you can go. If it's not something we need, I say eliminate it.
Okay. Who are you saying? Clerk, did you have something? Or were you saying Isaiah? Commissioner Santiago, sorry.
Yes. So there's pieces in here for deliverables from the superintendent as far as reports. Well, I would say remove that portion specifically, as we should be focusing on our board goals, and this isn't our board goals. I think it's still good for conversation and still good to have implemented to show our priorities and things that we care about as a district. But the reports, I think, are taking time away from the superintendent focusing on reports that are tracking our board goals.
Progress monitoring, and so Commissioner Santiago, you're talking about the implementation and monitoring.
Yes.
Of elimination of that is your suggestion.
Can I ask a question then? If we're going to eliminate that, do we need the whole policy itself? Because I believe I've heard it a few times where they were saying we're going to do a policy diet. So is that something we actually need altogether? Can we just really get away with it?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner McCullough. Commissioner LeBron?
Yeah, I just want to caution removing any policies, especially if you're new. I do want to point out, it's kind of sick and sad in a society that we're living in right now, that we still actually need to have a policy that says that people need to be treated equally and with equity in how decisions are made. And in this district, that does tend to be the history and the case. I do support removing the frivolous demands that we have all throughout many of our policies on reports that we do nothing with. Half the time, they're presented, and we may not even look at them, but we have these staff running around, putting them together for no actual purpose or reason, other than boards in the past stuck it under these policies. I don't believe the deliverables should be there. But I do support keeping the policy if we want to modify it. And then I just also want to be cautious about even using equity right now as a word with the federal government. And I just want to point out, I had a meeting with one of the local banks recently, and they can't even use the word black or female in some of their applications as a bank. And we're not exempt from that. I just want to point out that as a school district, unfortunately, we are not exempt from what's happening at the federal level. So we need to have these conversations. I want to support that they stay on, certain policies stay on, that we remove unnecessary ask or outcomes that we want the administration to do for no particular reason. But I also do think we need to start centering conversations around federal implications for some of our own languages, and not only in our policies, but even how we're having these conversations on the dais. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner LeBron. Commissioner McCullough, and then we'll
And
bring
then,
the
yeah, I just
conversation.
want to make one more clarification with this. This is a recommended policy, and we do have policies prohibiting discrimination, harassment already on the books, so it really wouldn't be taken away from anything.
Right. Right.
With that said, one thing I know we all unanimously, or it sounds as if we all are coalescing around, would be the removal of the reporting pieces, that we don't need to do that. So that is one piece I know we can agree on. With the other pieces, we also recognize that this is still in the first readings. Okay, so we have opportunity to kind of mull over this just a little bit and continue with this consideration, if we will. For the purposes of time and just getting where we need to go, I would like to entertain a motion regarding, what is this policy? Policy 0105, with the agreement to exclude or remove the implementation and monitoring portion of the policy, which we can then move this forward into second readings and then kind of check our pulse at that particular time. Is that, and everyone amenable to that? With that said, entertain a motion for the
Motion.
amendment, or, yeah, thank you. Griffin and Malloy, and all in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we are going to, yeah, oh my, we don't even have an executive session. Motion to adjourn the meeting. A motion by Commissioner LeBron, seconded by Vice President Malloy. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Good night.